I want to thank everybody for joining us on today's webinar. We do these every 2 weeks. We do 2 of them every 2 weeks, just so we can make sure we reach out to the East Coast as West Coast customers. This week's content is kind of geared towards sport and HyperTone stains and things you can and can't do with HyperTone stain in the sports arena. I'm Robert McNamara, Director of Marketing and Sales for Basic Coatings, for those of you that do not know me. In this format, if you guys have never done Zoom before, if you move your mouse around, you'll be able to see like either chat boxes or question boxes. And throughout the presentation, if you have questions, just drop them in there. Or you can text me some questions. My cell phone number is 216-633-4124. This week's presenter is Tim Nathan. He's our guru for color, stain, sport, real world problems, you name it. He's a jack of all trades. And usually we do a 5-minute video, 5-minute presentation, then 10 minutes of questions. But Tim wanted to change it up this week, which I think is a great idea. It worked out really well this morning. And it's kind of a combination of both. He's going to have pictures and videos all at the same time. And at the end, like I said, just throw some questions, and if I think they're questions that are pertinent to what he's talking about at the time and we should talk about it, I'll ask it. Otherwise, we'll kind of wait to the end. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Nathan.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. If you're way on the West Coast or Hawaii, how is everyone today? I hope well. I'll jump right into my presentation. Let me get clicked back over to here. So today, as Robert said, we want to talk about sport floor. I know I didn't introduce myself earlier, but I should, I guess. Robert at the end did correct that for myself. My name is Tim Nathan. I'm a market specialist as well as a regional manager for the Upper Midwest. So I bring to the table a lot of hype and whatnot. I'm just kidding. So as an ex-contractor, it's kind of fun to be able to relate to you guys and share ideas, and hopefully you can enjoy some of the ones we're doing here today. We're talking about adding color to sport floors with HyperTone. So we're looking at how HyperTone is doing something totally different in the maple flooring world, especially in sport. The color palette is we believe it's something that has never been done before. So we're pretty excited about it. You can see in this image, one of our customers.
Hey, Tim, you're not sharing your screen yet.
What?
You're not sharing your screen yet.
Hang on. Technical difficulties.
Good thing I'm here.
That's video. Huh. Let's try again.
There you go. There you go.
That's why I'm a floor guy, not a technical guy.
You're pretty good at both, man.
All right. So I'll start over. You heard what I talked about, but let me bring this image back up. It's the joy of technology. If you know what you do with it, it actually can work pretty well. So in this floor, we're showing a green concept on a project that was done with one of our customers. We're really kind of excited when we saw this picture. It's a really unique look, something that we don't believe is that simple to achieve, and it's kind of nice that HyperTone can bring forward the opportunity to make it happen for them. So in the world of HyperTone, we think it has some of the most unique versatility. You can use it as a stain on raw wood. You can use it to tone finishes from levels of transparency like a stained look or even a painted look. Thus, the next step is you can kind of create that painted look. It can be added in a recoat environment where you're adding game lines, you're adding graphics, you're adding a stained look into a recoated floor. So HyperTone offers some unique versatility that I just don't think is quite done to this level before. Matching colors becomes a big conversation because we're looking at how unique the wood colors can be in a transparent effect. So guys are asking a lot, guys and gals, I don't want to be exclusive there, on how to replicate color tone. So we ask that you send us something, get us an image that we can utilize. And you can see in this, we've done some matching in different levels of opacity to try and achieve the color tone we're looking for. And it goes back to where when we get those images, the terms CMYK and RGB come into play. Those are digital color palettes. The digital world can have an infinite, I mean, literally infinite color that paint can't always get a direct connection to. So it doesn't translate directly to a Pantone. And that's what the world of paints are. So when we ask, you basically go into the level of saying, give me an image, and then you grab a fan deck. We'll help best as we can, get some colors kind of that are as close as possible, get an approval from the school or the administration that's involved, and then we'll work with what you guys can get from that fan deck. So here we go. So here's, boy, it skips these this morning too. Here's something that a customer sent to me. This is the color palette. This is the color they picked off of a fan deck he found used. You can see in the cup that I created a color formula for it, and then we took it to the job site. And the results really were pretty remarkable. They're looking for a pseudo opaque look. They love the way there's just a hint of wood tone that could be visible, but all of the intensity of that color came out in that floor. The contractor and the school was ecstatic over that project. So we'll jump into the step of staining. Everybody knows that staining wood floors has some unique challenges when it comes to maple. When it comes to previous products that were available, you never really got the uniformity that we're getting out of HyperTone, like you can see here in this red, and the intensity that we're able to get with HyperTone. The palette is really unlimited. You know, we can get you those school colors of the purples, the oranges, the greens. Of course, the red, blue, and yellow is a stock color for us. And the uniformity of color is something we pride ourselves on with HyperTone. The automotive pigments in there are bringing us a unique ability to get you that unique uniformity of color.
Hey, Tim, I kind of want to point out to everybody, when you look at that picture there, it's pretty similar color to what you did in the other pictures, but you were, wanting to see more wood.
Yeah.
In this picture, and the other you didn't. So we got the ability to do that.
Well, quick comparison. This is stained on raw wood versus the other one was a tint coated concept to create almost a painted look.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's funny how the images look very, very similar in color, but the opacity was required for us to formulate that tint color with some white added to it. But the fade resistance is something we're also pretty proud of. We're hearing a lot of guys have used tinted finishes before. It's nothing terribly new, but the products that they were using before would fade, and they would have struggled keeping it steadfast over the period of time. This is doing much, much more. This concept, this pigment technology is proven in the marketplace in the automotive world, so we're pretty confident that we can offer them a better choice. Application becomes another question. How do I make a water-based stain work? Basic Coatings is taking on the challenge, if you will, of pioneering a water-based stain like we did back in the 80s of pioneering a water-based finish. So we're pretty proud to be a pioneer in the marketplace. Application is pretty simple with HyperTone. You have multiple ways to go about it. Here we show that you can roll it on and wipe it off simply with having a crew of guys. In the bigger scale, obviously, it might be nice to have an extra set of hands or so, but it's pretty simple to roll it on and wipe it off. In this particular time lapse, these guys wanted to try something a little different. I'm a big fan of testing ideas. So we rolled it, took a lamb's wool, tried to pull the excess off so that there was less to wipe and less rags needed to be used. All we did was basically spread it out with the lamb's wool, but it worked out pretty nice. They were happy with the outcome. On this project here, we used a rolling method like we did in that very first still shot. Here's a little quick video. Basically rolling it on, and a couple of us are out there wiping the stain off. Back to the project where that orange was, they wanted to try buffing when we wound up staining that gray in the entire court. So it was a 3-guy concept, rolling, taking that lamb's wool, making sure that there isn't too much excess, then a white pad on a buffer, basically taking off the rest. We slid through that area pretty damn fast. So it was kind of nice that we got an opportunity to test some different methods and get guys comfortable with the product. So sorry, I guess we're a little glitchy on PowerPoint here. Here's one where you can see that they wanted to have some different shades of blue so that they could highlight the different areas in the room or in the court. So we took a stock blue around the border, and we took our clear base in the lane and just basically diluted the color so you have a little bit of a brighter tone, but it created a great contrast on that floor. Even more so here between a black and a gray. That black is such a rich color that they love the contrast, and it turned out fabulous. Come on, PowerPoint. Seems like it's a little glitchy. Sorry about the slides there, but here's some finished projects, all stain on raw wood, coated. This one highlights the keys. This one you saw earlier with the 2 shades of blue turned out fantastic. Here's that one prior to the game lines on that gray and orange. And then here's the finished look on that project. So it really does have a nice, rich, deep orange color in it. It just creates a unique look. And I think that's what schools are looking for nowadays. Here's a highlight where they wanted the keys to have that old patina look. And it really created a rich concept in the color contrast. So in this little aerial shot with a drone, we show the rich contrast between our white and our Cabernet. And when we get across the W, sorry again about the glitchiness there, that is actually all stained on raw wood. You spend a lot of time being very cautious with taping. Sorry about that, folks. But to get that really rich, I guess you'd call it burgundy and white color contrast, made that floor really turn out nice. So we'll move on to toning finishes. This is something that's been drawing more and more conversation for us internally, and that's to be able to take and go on top of a sealed wood, but still maintain almost a stained-like look. And you see in this logo here, the crisp yellows and purples are really giving them a fabulous brilliance to that color. So the concept there is where we're trying to impress upon those that we've taken the time to show, test, thoroughly vet out the fact that HyperTone suspends naturally into our finishes, and Street Shoe is one of our premier choices there to give you the confidence that adhesion is not going to be a problem. We've thoroughly tested it. You're not playing tailgate chemist by putting 2 different brands of product together and taking all the risk on your shoulders. We're creating immensely vivid colors. You can see in this image that even though the yellow has kind of mellowed itself back as one of the secondary lines, it still has great clarity. It's highly visible, but yet not so dominant that it doesn't distract from a game on the floor. We can do between the yellow, the blue, and the red, transparency to opacity with really kind of great ease with our product. The fade resistance, as we talked earlier, and of course then the benefits of not having to worry about as much of a chipping concern when you're talking about finish versus paint. One of the keys, higher concentrations yield more opacity, lower concentrations, more transparency. Basically, it's simple as how much stain you're adding to the finish. Some people are going to do as low as 2 to 5%. Some people might go as high as 10 to 15%. We're talking on the field application. Job by job dictates, which way you want to go with it. We are recommending a T-bar or paint pad application. It gives you a smoother, more even color. The patterns can be done through masks or through tape lines. Specifically to the transparent look, you can see here that this gray gives us this wonderful highlight, but yet we still see wood tones coming through. And it's gray. It's not like it's a washed out concept. It has the contrast you're looking for in those environments. So replicating the stained look, getting that vibrant color, creating your crisp lines, and still allowing some wood grain to be visible gives that toning a finish a unique effect in what we're doing. Okay. PowerPoint's freezing up again here. Sorry about that. There we go. So back up a little bit. Here shows a concept start to finish where we've got a first mask down. We're going to run 2 coats of the yellow tinted finish. Pulling the mask off, we're getting crisp lines. It's not bleeding when that mask is adhered well. Laying a secondary mask on top to cover up, as you guys do on a daily basis. Starting with the secondary color, they wanted to have a deeper purple, so we wound up doing a 3-coat concept there. And peeling the mask off, revealing the secondary color. So we're getting these rich color contrasts between the purple and the yellow, still allowing maintaining a grain to come through, but highlighting the floor in a way that really hasn't been quite done this well yet, I don't think. In a painted look, to give you more opacity, we're able to take our colors and do formulas that allow it to create a more masking effect. Advantages, of course, we're looking at is we believe we have richer color. We believe we have more versatility in the ability to do pseudo transparency versus full opacity. Chipping resistance, we've talked about that. Your finish on top of finish instead of paint on top of finish. Adhesion is much more reliable because, again, we test our finishes to play nice together where you're dealing with paints on top of finishes. Compatibility, of course, goes without saying, and abrasion. Let's talk about that in the next slide or so. You can see here with this letter, once we pull the mask, you have a full, rich, opaque look. So I'm going to move on to this slide where we talk about it quite a bit in the slide here coming up. And this one particular project, they wanted to have a touch more transparency, but you have that huge contrast between the white, gray, and red, and it is as defined as you could possibly ask for. So here with the white and the gray, they want a little bit more opacity versus the red, showing a little bit more transparency. And the contractor really liked the versatility in that paint would have not given them this option. And to have to go and stain borders versus painting lines, this was a much simpler concept. It went a lot faster. Again, another angle of this project showing the grays and how the grays can be very opaque, the whites can be opaque, and the red and shows just a subtle transparency. Contrast with the stained arcs, the keys there, and then the final product. Really left a nice project. So with application, we're kind of focusing on using a T-bar paint pad. You're basically plowing the product like you would finish, but paying attention a little bit with your feather offs more, using maybe plastic or paper on the ends to prevent it. So with this one, we talk about steps. When you're doing each coat, you can sometimes have, concerns about streaks, and we recommend that do thin coats and build in layers. As you can see here, you get your first layer, a second layer. And we had done through this one. I didn't have an image for it, but you can see we're peeling now the mask and the final results. The vibrancy there is, I think, bar none. So to get a visual, a little video content we had for how to apply the tinted product, this contractor likes to lay down an area, and you can see that, I do apologize, we're having a little glitchiness in the video. He'll actually run a whole half of this logo and then come back, and normally I could keep my timing well, but our video is glitchy. He'll come back and then pull after the product starts to kind of dry off and set a little, and he's pulling the straight lines. And again, I apologize for the video today. We're just having a little glitch. But you can see how he's pulling nice, quick, straight, clean lines, leaving that floor uniform.
Certainly makes it look easy.
Yeah. I just wish the video was a little smoother tonight, this afternoon.
Yeah, I think they're getting the gist of it.
This one didn't want to work earlier today either. I apologize. I don't know what's going on. But we'll jump into this, and there it goes. So anytime you're having multiple layers, tape lines over mask lines, there's bound to be a gap. And that's an unfortunate nature what you guys face every day. But what we did find after working around with a lot of contractors on projects, that if we get that pulled in a reasonable amount of time, we get a wet rag and we're actually cleaning that off. Fixing these overlapping color scenarios quite as simply as that. We were probably more surprised by most when we realized that if your timing works out well, you can wipe that stuff right off with a wet rag. But this is where we really feel proud of what our products can do for a lot of others. I'll run this video. Typically with paints, guys are very leery about abrading paints for fear that they're going to be pulling pigment across different colors. And you can see he's got a maroon pad with an abrasive strip underneath there, and he's running directly across the red, white, and raw areas or natural areas, and he's not getting color pull. Recoating is something that we believe it's really going to be a highlight where you can add a stained look into a recoat. There's our coworker here, Josh, who's worked on a project here, adding a purple highlight to this floor. And if I can get this PowerPoint to run, there we go. So they've taped everything off after they abraded it, cleaned it really well, and showing the areas that we're going to highlight. Come on. And there's your first coat. Again, folks, I apologize. There's your second coat and a third coat. Got a little glitchy there. So, of course, Josh has gotten to celebrate there. We're kind of excited about the outcome of this project because when you see the final results, it really does look like a sharp floor. We've got wood grain showing through. We've got a floor that was revived when it really couldn't be resanded due to the fact of its age and how many times it's been sanded before. But we extended the life of this floor for the school for a little while so they have time to fit it into their budget for another floor in the future. So I guess a little quick summary, we're hoping that you'll see that we're able to do some unique things with a water-based system and an automotive pigmented color where we can take old floors and we can brighten them up. When you go back to this previous image, that was supposed to be a blue, but so many years of time and age has created an alter to it. The white lines aren't crisp, colors are better, an old floor to a new floor, an old floor again, bringing a huge amount of life in the logo itself. Totally revived. So there you go. Hopefully that helped you out today. Maybe we got some questions, Robert?
Totally awesome. Yep. Okay. So one of the questions, we get it all the time. What's the best basic coatings finish to use for tinting?
I favor Street Shoe. We have tested it in our Player's Choice 1 and our Gym Shoe as well. But I'm a big fan of Street Shoe. I think it gives you the best of some of the best worlds, and that is cure time so that you can tape onto it quicker, run your mask quicker. We've had a lot of success using it, so we're a big fan of using that product.
Yeah, and then commercial, residentially, everything except maybe Emulsion Pro, just because Emulsion Pro already has a tint to it. Do I abrade between coats, and what abrasive would I use?
Really good question. So the great part about this system is you have a window of hot coat time. So most of what we're doing with these systems is if you're within our window of hot coat time for Street Shoe, you're within the same window if you've added tint to it. So as long as you're within a certain day, I say you can hot coat. We've tested it. It works. If you end up going the next day, like we showed with that one video, it might be wise to abrade to make sure you got good adhesion.
Does it change the pot life when you add HyperTone stain?
No, the pot life of the product's not affected by the stain. It doesn't cause it to cross-link faster. It doesn't cause it to harden faster. Though I will say that I'm a big fan that if you're doing a project, try to mix up just what you need, just in case the next project's a little different. You don't want to have a color inconsistency.
One of the questions that came up last webinar, which I think is worth repeating, what about fade?
Well, we did kind of mention that earlier. With an automotive pigment, we have the ability to give you some assurances that it's not going to fade like dyes. We have never been able to test fade resistance on wood because now you have transparency. The wood itself can change, but the pigments themselves won't. And we're adding a UV inhibitor when you use Street Shoe into the mix. That helps as well.
Here's kind of a question which I'm going to stump you on.
All right.
Looks better, staining or tinting the finish?
Ooh, let's flip a coin.
Yeah. Right.
Honestly, it's becoming harder and harder to answer that question. When you look at this image we got up on the screen, we can create some pretty rich color without having to stain raw wood. I would say that in many cases, guys are going to choose to tint finish now that they can see that they can do this over staining. There's one negative to staining on raw wood, and that is if you do a deep, deep color, it might be hard to sand out.
Yeah, again, I look at those large projects where they're doing a whole floor in gray stain, and I just think it's got to be faster and easier to.
You brought that up. That's probably a really good point.
So, all right, well, we're past our time allotment, not by much, but we are past it. Just want to have a cheap little advertising time for us. So we are doing a Floor of the Month, Floor of the Year contest. There's actually two that run concurrently. One is a sport floor contest, and the other one is commercial and residential. And all the contractor has to do is take pictures, write on there what they've used on their project, and on Instagram, put hashtag #WoodFloorProud, and they're automatically entered into the contest. And at the end of the month, we pick winners in each category. If you win, you get $250 worth of free basic coatings material. And then you are automatically entered into the Floor of the Year contest. The Floor of the Year contest winners on the sports side is an EMAC special custom painted basic coatings tape machine and telegraph and arm. And on the residential commercial side, you get a Festool T55 saw, as well as the rails that go with it, which are pretty cool. And with that, if you have any other questions, just reach out to your local regional basic coatings sales manager. Tim, as always, did a great job. Want to thank everybody for joining us, and have a good holiday. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, sir. Bye, everyone.